A wave of grief and outrage surged through Minneapolis this week after federal Border Patrol agents shot and killed 37-year-old ICU nurse Alex Pretti, a U.S. citizen with no serious criminal history, in a confrontation that has ignited nationwide protests and deepened tensions over immigration enforcement. What happened? The shooting itself, on January 24, 2026, at about mid-morning in Minneapolis, a U.S. Border Patrol agent fatally shot Alex Pretti near 26th Street and Nicollet Avenue during a federal immigration enforcement operation. Pretti, a registered nurse at the Minneapolis VA healthcare system, was unarmed with a phone in his hand in bystander video before federal agents wrestled him to the ground and multiple shots were fired. Federal authorities initially claimed Pretti approached agents with a handgun and resisted. But bystander video, widely shared on social media and verified by independent outlets, shows him holding only a phone and attempting to help others before he was pepper sprayed, tackled, and then fatally shot. Pretti's family stressed he had no significant criminal record and was known as a devoted caregiver and ICU nurse who treated veterans and served his community. Official responses: federal versus local. Homeland Security and Border Patrol defended the actions of agents, calling the situation dangerous and asserting self-defense. Local officials, including Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara, rejected that narrative and demanded transparency and accountability. The Minneapolis mayor and state leaders argued that federal immigration agents are not trained for urban deployments and that the incident could have been avoided with proper protocols and restraint. Nationwide protests and public outcry. Public reaction was swift and intense. Large protests erupted not only in Minneapolis, but in cities across the United States, including New York, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Boston, and Washington, D.C., with crowds demanding justice for Pretti and calling for major changes to federal immigration enforcement policies. Protesters have chanted slogans against U.S. immigration and customs enforcement, ICE, and Border Patrol, held memorial vigils for Pretti, and drawn connections to the earlier death in January of another Minneapolis resident, Renee Good, also killed by a federal immigration agent. Legal and investigative developments. Federal judges have intervened to preserve evidence, including body camera footage, amid disputes over access and integrity. State leaders have called for independent investigations, and there are emerging legal challenges and political demands for accountability at both state and federal levels. Border Patrol Commander Gregory Bovino, departure from Minneapolis. In the wake of the controversy, reports out of Washington and Minneapolis indicate that Border Patrol Commander Gregory Bovino, who oversaw operations in the city, will soon leave Minneapolis. Sources say Bovino and some agents are being pulled back amid intense backlash and political pressure. City leaders have been pressing for a reduction of the federal enforcement presence, and federal officials have signaled a potential scaling back of the immigration operation as tensions persist. Broader context: immigration enforcement and civil liberties. The death of Alex Pretti is being framed by critics as part of a broader pattern of aggressive federal immigration enforcement tactics under recent policies. The incident has reinvigorated debates over civil liberties, federal power in local communities, and the role of immigration authorities on American streets. Civil rights advocates, healthcare workers, and lawmakers across the political spectrum have called for major policy reforms, while federal leaders defend the actions of Border Patrol agents and push back against the narrative of wrongdoing. Closing line: strong. As Minneapolis grapples with grief and anger, and as federal and local authorities clash over the future of immigration enforcement, the killing of Alex Pretti has become a flashpoint in a national conversation about the rights, responsibilities, and limits of power in America.